It's crazy to me that we often think that we're supposed to have our lives figured out at a certain age. Like sometimes when I hear from 30-year-olds, like, oh my gosh, I'm not married yet, or I don't have, and it's just like, girl, you have so much time to figure out your life. And then we think that by the time we get to 40, it's like, no changing, this is our lives, we can't pivot. And having those staunch rules for your life really messes with things because I don't believe that you can't change, you can't pivot, you can't do different things at any age. Um, Obviously, because I changed my whole life at the age of 43. If you're new here, my name is Michaela Pabone. I am your 49-year-old homegirl here to share the real, the raw, and the relatable moments of life with a little style and entrepreneurship and encouragement all mixed in. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about my journey of pivoting over 40. I talk about this a lot because I didn't see a lot of people talking about this part of your journey. A lot of women I know are kind of set in their careers and doing something that they love and don't really change it. And I was not that person. I did work at a company that I loved. I had a position that I loved finally at that company, but I still felt like I was missing something. Like there was something else that I wanted to do. Like something else I was being called to do. And when you feel that, restlessness, I definitely think it's something you should look into. And I know that maybe people think that's, maybe something's wrong with you or hormones or whatever. And it's like, no, I knew that there was something different for my life that I needed to pursue. And so my first pivot was from working corporate. I worked at JetBlue at the corporate offices. And I had been there for 10 years, almost 10 years. And COVID hit. And I remember telling one of my good girlfriends there, we're still friends today. I remember telling her, I just need them to offer me a package. And this was maybe 3 years before COVID when I was in a position that I hated, doing a job that I really did not like with a terrible, terrible, terrible manager. It was just a bad situation all around, and I wanted to get out so badly. And I remember telling her if they could just offer me a package where they give me severance and they give me benefits, like flight benefits, I would take it and I would go. And I had nothing else lined up. I wasn't creating content. I didn't have a clothing brand that was like making lots of money. I had nothing. I just didn't want to be in that position anymore. And my friend was like, girl, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, good luck. Lo and behold, 2 years later, after I moved out of that position into one that I loved with an amazing manager. Well, he was actually a VP. I worked directly for the VP. Great, great, great position. Um, COVID hit right after that, like maybe a year later. And they started offering packages. The package they offered was lowering the retirement age to 50. So, with your years of service plus your age, if that met the age of 50, then you could retire with a severance package and with full flight benefits. I was like, God, I know I prayed for this 3 years ago. And now you're giving it to me when I'm in a really, really good spot. So it was kind of like this tug back and forth between like having a good, stable position that I enjoyed with a manager, a VP who was very easy to work with and, a great person versus what I had asked for. Now, by this time, I was creating content online. I had my business Trust and Joy that was just starting to move and shake and do a little good sales. So I'm like, okay, well, I asked for this, I prayed for this, and that's what my husband told me. He's like, this is what you prayed for. So what you gonna do? You gonna tell God thanks but no thanks? So I took the package and I got my little severance. It wasn't little, it was nice. I got my severance. I got my lifetime flight benefits for me and my family. And that was my first pivot out of corporate into content creation. Now, like I said, I was already creating my content. I was already working on building my following since 2017. And I wasn't getting a lot of brand campaigns at that time, a few here and there, but the business was doing well enough. The severance was there to help keep us afloat until things started to really move and shake. So I'm like, okay, I got like 5 or 6 months to figure this out. So I really went hard on my content. We were at home all the time with the kids. So I was like, I made a little makeshift filming area in our bedroom. I bought what was it? I bought a cute little rug. I bought this is perimenopause and my brain is not working. I can't think of the word. Clothing rack. I bought a clothing rack, a small one that I can put like a few pieces of clothing on. And I started making my content. I started doing TikTok. I started doing Instagram reels. Well, they weren't reels at the time. I think it was just videos. And I would incorporate my clothing brand, and everything really just started to take off because, you know, people were at home all the time. Everybody was on their phones. Everybody was shopping online. So that's when things really started to take off. And that pivot from corporate into content was like, it felt perfect. Especially me being somebody who loves fashion and already had the structure of working in a corporate environment. So I had, you know, experience with having my day structured, even with the kids being at home most of the time and husband being at home most of the time. I was still able to figure out a good structure to get my work done. Eventually, I was making enough money through the business and through content that I was able to get my own office. So some days I'd be here at this office with the kids because they weren't in school, so they'd be here with me in the office while I'm working, creating content, packing orders, whatever it is. But I was able to build that structure because it's something I was used to in corporate. Now, I will say it's been 5 years since I left corporate, and that structure is kind of unraveling a bit for me. And it's been really hard to get back into it. So I have a hard time sometimes focusing. And okay, yes, I'm 49, so a lot of this may have to do with me being in the throes of perimenopause. Speaking of, hold on, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to show you something. I know it's really unorthodox, but this is what I've been using to kind of help me focus. It's NeuroGum Energy and Focus. NeuroGum is a brand, and it's Energy and Focus Gum. And this stuff really, really, really helps. This is obviously not an ad. This is what I actually use to help me focus. I chew a piece of gum when I get to my office, 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm like, boom, 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 what do I need to do? And I can knock my work out. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So what was I talking about? Perimenopause. So the structure, I'm still working on getting back to creating a good structure for myself because I like completely lost it once. And I'll talk about this pivot as well. Once I opened my own retail store, and I'm between the store and between here and trying to do content and it's like I couldn't focus on all the things. And I ended up like not focusing on anything because I was so overwhelmed and so stressed that now I lost it. So I'm working on getting that back. But then I want to talk about my pivot also from content creation into Dressed in Joy, which kind of went hand in hand for a very long time, because as I was building my content creation journey, I would use my pieces. I'd wear them for a posing video. I'd wear them just to talk about something else or whatever I was talking about at the time. And that would have so many questions. So, what are you wearing? Where'd you get that? I want one too. And that would send people to my business. So that was kind of like a semi pivot into Dressed in Joy. And then once I kind of felt like maybe content creation isn't for me anymore, and I think part of it had to do with there was a strong pivot in content that everybody needed to sell something. You need to be affiliate. You need to make sure you're linking. And that just wasn't really me. And I felt like, okay, well, maybe I need to pivot out of content creation, like really focusing on it and really focus on Dressed in Joy more full time than I was. Maybe that will help, build up, because we were doing so well 2021, 2022. Things started to go downhill in 2023. We had a still great year in 2023. And then by 2024 and 25, just completely downhill. But I was like, maybe it's because I'm like not focusing 100% on that. And I'm like trying to split my time between content creation and Dressed in Joy. And then I focused on Dressed in Joy and it was still not doing well. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to figure out a way to blend them again. I need to figure out a way to create content for both, or to have time for both, because at this point I don't have the money to hire somebody. I'm not really paying anybody to, work with me or to create my content for me or anything like that. So it's like I'm really having to focus on both. And this is where my structure comes in now, of having to figure out, okay, how much time do I spend on this? How much time do I spend on emails? How much time do I spend on my content, on Dressed in Joy content? And it's still a challenge, but that's not what this video is about. And look at me rambling and going all off. But basically, I just want to tell you, if you are a woman over 40, that it's really our time. If you want to pivot into content, do it. If you want to pivot into your own business, do it. This is like prime time for us, because people want to hear from us. We have so much experience. We have so much life experience and so much to share and talk about, that I really believe that this is the perfect time for us to do so. I hear sometimes in my DMs women saying that it's too late. And that's such a lie, man. I feel like after 40, your pivots are more intentional and more aligned with where your life is going. And since you have more experience, you can kind of lend that experience to your next pivot. I also don't want you to think that wanting more makes you ungrateful for what you have. You can still be grateful. You can still live in a state of gratitude and thankfulness, while still feeling like you want to do more, you want to have more, you want to be more. That is nothing to feel guilty of or be ashamed of. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to use that restlessness that you have as information to start anew. And that's it for today. I'm not here to say a whole lot. I just want to encourage you that if you've been thinking about pivoting, if you've been thinking about doing something new, that I did it, and I know you can do it too. If you're in a mode where you feel like you're ready to pivot or you have some ideas, let's talk through it together in the comments, and I will see you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.